What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Knicks Recap Podcast. I'm your host, Troy, and you could be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here this afternoon with me, and I really appreciate that. Shout out to the chat gang. Shout out to Knicks Nation. Thank you guys for joining the stream. We have a lot of Knicks news to discuss today. So much. We are in August, by the way. Happy August, everybody. August 2nd. And we're still right now talking about the Knicks, what they're doing, and some of their moves. I don't remember the last time the Knicks have been this relevant in August. But you know what? I guess we're living through a first, and I really do love it. We're going to talk about Julius Randall and his contract extension, if he's going to sign it, if he's not. Are the Knicks looking to trade him away? We're going to talk about the Okeke signing. We're going to talk about Precious Achiuwa, the trade deadline target that everybody wants to know, who's on the thumbnail right now. We're also going to touch on a couple of other topics. Donte DiVincenzo speaking out about Mikal Bridges, a grade that ESPN gave us for our offseason our offseason goals and what we've done to accomplish them, and so many other things as well, too. I want to give a quick shout out to Casual Corner Sports. So I guess I'm going to debut the new chat today. Shout out to Casual Corner Sports. You see him right there. Good $10 donation to the show. He says, and this is my guy, Nickinator, keep doing your thing. Much appreciated. Shout out to you, my guy. Appreciate you. You made me debut my chat before I wanted to, OG, so I appreciate you. But thank you so much for the praise. Thank you so much for the kudos and, of course, for the donation as well. If you guys want to do the same thing as Nickinator, who was on the show recently on a Knicks live show, all you have to do is go to the super chat button. There's a little heart with a money sign in it. You hit that, and then you can get your comment prioritized, read on the air, and that way I don't miss it at all. But shout out to the OG. I really do appreciate it. But like I was saying, there are so many different things to talk about today with the Knicks. And if you stay with me, I promise you, we are going to cover a lot of them. But one of the main things I want to talk about, because for me, it's more of a major move that nobody's talking about as how major it is. The Precious Achiuwa signing. The Knicks signing Achiuwa, 1-year deal, $6 million. And of course, the biggest part of that, he waived his no trade clause, which means he cannot veto any trade and he can be included in any trade come December 15th. Once I saw that, once I read that report, immediately, like I said in the video I dropped for it, I thought to myself, who is that player? Who are they going to target at the trade deadline? Because that's the next time the Knicks are going to make a trade. It's just too difficult for them to make a trade in any other way. So for right now, I was just wondering to myself who that player was going to be. And thanks to an NBA executive, he helped reveal that before the Knicks signed Precious Achiuwa, they were speaking to the Washington Wizards potentially to get a starting caliber center on this team. And the player they were targeting? Jonas Valanciunas. We're going to break down these latest reports and so much more today. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. And make sure you have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. The Knicks are linked to the Washington Wizards center, and that name is Jonas Valanciunas. Now, I know it's the trade deadline. The trade deadline is a little bit away. We're talking about February here, so it's not anytime soon. But when the Knicks signed Achiuwa, the number one thing you were thinking to yourself is, what was going to happen? What were the Knicks going to do after this move? Because remember, signing him to $6 million, they did that, and by doing so, they keep their mid-level exception. Even though they signed Okokie, excuse me, I forget his name now. Okokie, yeah, Chuma Okokie, there you go. Even though we signed Chuma Okokie to an Exhibit 10 deal, it does not hit our salary at all. We still have an open roster spot. We can still use our mid-level exception. So since that's the case, the Knicks can add even more talent to this roster. Why is that important? You have Precious now. He signed for 1 year. You add the mid-level, and now he's somebody else that you can include at the trade deadline for a player. And if you're wondering who that player is, like I just stated, according to an NBA executive, and of course, according to the Heavy.com, Sean Deveney, they state the Knicks were looking at targeting Jonas Valanciunas and getting him on this team before they added Precious Achiuwa. And if that's the case, then that means come the trade deadline, they are likely going to go back to that route again and try to get him on this team. Let's break down these latest reports here. Shout out to theheavy.com for giving us the following information. According to them, before the Knicks broke about the Achiuwa signing, an NBA executive speaking to Sean Deveney of theheavy.com claimed that New York had its sights set on another notable interior name, notably Jonas Valanciunas of the Washington Wizards. The executive believes that Valanciunas could become available by the association's New Year landmark, and that the Knicks would be one of several teams interested in his services. This is a quote from that executive. You are going to get the Los Angeles Lakers interested again. They're going to probably be in better shape to get him because they can make it work through a trade. The Knicks, we'll see how their center spot develops. The Golden State Warriors, if the Lauri Markkanen thing doesn't work out. By the way, newsflash, Lauri Markkanen, it's not going to work out for the Warriors. For the Warriors. Sorry, not sorry, but that's what happens when you deal with Danny Ainge. But let's keep it going here. Milwaukee, we'll see what happens with them and Brook Lopez. But clearly, one thing is certain. Teams will have their eyes set on Jonas Valanciunas come the trade deadline, and the Knicks are set to be one of those teams. As you can see here, Valanciunas, 32 years old, still a little bit old. He is old. He's going to get older. And obviously, as you age in this league, it's not going to help your career. We're talking about him potentially playing backup minutes. And then if he can't do anything like that, and he does play the backup minutes, I should say, and he needs to start, we can have him start as well because he's used to doing that too. I'm not saying the Knicks are going to include Mitchell Robinson in that deal, but you got to wonder to yourself, if they make a trade, who would be included? You got to figure they want to include Precious Achiuwa. They want to include those protected picks. They want to include the mid-level exception player, and that's probably it. And if they can use that to get it done, they will. We're going to get to why Washington may make that deal as well, too. But something else to think about here. He just inked a 3-year, $30.3 million deal with Washington as part of a sign and trade with New Orleans. The Wizards' primary intention could well be dealing Valanciunas away in exchange for further rebuilding assets, as they figure to be on pace, on patrol for the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. And as we all know, when Flag is involved, everybody's going to want to get a piece of the pie. Everybody's going to want to be involved. And if the Wizards can get a little bit better in contention by making a trade and getting rid of Valanciunas, they're going to do that. And the Knicks, one of those protected picks, who do they belong to again? Detroit, and Washington. And the teams, in terms of centers that the Knicks are talking to, at least reportedly, Jalen Duran, he's part of what team? Oh, Detroit, we have their pick. Washington, Jonas Valanciunas, we have their pick. I see a trend here. I see a trend. I think the Knicks are trying to utilize their picks, which at this point we all know do not have any value, but they do have value to the teams that own those picks and probably want them back. Why would they want them back? Not because they think it could convey, but maybe they want to make a trade and utilize that pick in a trade. Right now, they can't do it because the Knicks own it. So there's a lot of reasons to do it for the Wizards or for Detroit. But for right now, we're going to focus on Jonas Valanciunas. If you're asking me, should the Knicks make this move? Should they make a trade to get Jonas Valanciunas on this team at the trade deadline? If it's only going to cost me Precious Achiuwa, if it's only going to cost me that mid-level exception player and those protected picks, I'm doing this trade because he is an elite backup. He may not be the level of defender that Isaiah Hartenstein was or that Mitchell Robinson is, especially in this day and age with his age. But rebounding, he'll give you that. Interior offense, he'll give you that. Modern day big man play, meaning he can go all the way to the 3 and shoot it. He can give you that. And if Mitchell Robinson goes down, he already knows how to play starter minutes. He's used to playing starter minutes. So if Mitch goes down, you can slide him right in. He would understand the assignment. And one thing to know under Tom Thibodeau, everybody who plays for him seems to buy into his message and they understand their role. And they also understand one thing. This team is run by Jalen Brunson. So no matter who you are, when you come to this team, there's a pecking order and you're going to get in line. And I think it's okay. People want to get in line. You want to know why? Because if you get in line, you have a chance to make history. A chance to change everything. A chance to win a championship. If they made that move before they got Achiuwa, and that was the deal, and they did that in a sign and trade, bravo, Leon. Offseason is yours. Championship contention, absolutely. Do not sleep on Valanciunas and what he means to a team. Yes, he's getting older. No, he's not the same player he used to be. And he still can't do a lot of things he used to do very well. But you know what? Shoots the three ball very well still. Still's good inside the paint. Still has an interior shot. Still gets rebounds. And under Tom Thibodeau, he would be a better defender. I failed to see a downside in getting him, especially if it's not going to cost you a lot. And the Wizards already have interest because we have their pick. It all really does make sense to me. While this executive, why Sean Deveney of theheavy.com, while myself, if you just look at it on itself, why the Knicks would be interested in getting Valanciunas. Look at what they need right now, a legit backup. He checks that box. Why the Wizards would be entertaining that deal? Because we have picks that they would want and they could utilize later down the road. It all makes sense to me. Hopefully it makes sense to you. I think this is going to be the Knicks trade deadline move. An executive is already stating the Lakers are going to be involved. The Knicks are going to be involved. The Bucks are going to be involved. All those teams are slated to be contenders in their own conferences next year. And the Knicks among at the top of the list. And if we have the assets to get it done, we are going to get it done. Leon Rose, do not sleep on Leon Rose and what he means to this organization. And when we say he can't, no, you can't do this, Leon. Time and time again, he proves why he can get it done, and he makes our roster better. So Jonas is a name I am going to be watching out for and looking for at the trade deadline. And I suggest all of you do the exact same thing. If they're able to pull off that trade, it's going to make us a better team. Even if we lose those picks, Achiuwa and that mid-level exception. And I don't even care how good Achiuwa is playing at the time. If you're able to get Valanciunas in the process, you do that move. That is a championship level move because you get a player that can play on a championship contender, especially off the bench. Valanciunas off the bench? Ridiculous. I would do it in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. But I don't also want to talk about this topic only. I do love talking about Valanciunas, the Knicks moves, and what they're going to do at the trade deadline. But as I said, the trade deadline is a few months away. Right now, the roster that we have is the roster that we have in place. This is the roster we're going to see. We're not making any more moves, by the way. If you were hoping for a trade, you're not going to see a trade. You're not going to see a trade right now. The next trade you see, the earliest trade you see, is going to probably be on December 15th. Once you can trade Precious Achiuwa. If the Knicks see a player at that time that's available that they want to trade for, that's the next time. Right now, it's too difficult. Once you've signed Achiuwa to that deal, in order to make that major trade happen for maybe a $20+ million level player, you're going to have to include Donte DiVincenzo or Josh Hart in that deal. Do you think the Knicks are going to want to do that before the season starts? It doesn't make any sense. We still have media day. We still have all of those photos to see. We still have training camp to watch and see and watch how they all gel together. And speaking about training camp, Mikal Bridges, he's going to be there. And of course, he is the new biggest addition for this Knicks team. We heard from Jalen. We heard from Josh. We heard from some other people. Didn't really hear from that other Nova guy that we have, Donte DiVincenzo. Well, recently, he was at, I believe, a meet and greet. And he was greeted by a lot of different Knicks fans. The line was so long, I think it was wrapping around the block. It was ridiculous. He has so much support. Shout out to Donte DiVincenzo. But when he was showing love, he was also interviewed. And during that interview, he addressed the Mikal Bridges deal, that trade, and how he feels about it. Let's take a look at exactly what he had to say about it. Shout out to the New York Post and Ian Bagley for giving us the following information as well, too, because they both covered it. According to them, it's not even believable, to be honest with you. It's not a situation where we tried to go out and do it. We talked about it. It's never been like that. Everybody kind of just went along with their own path and ended up back with each other. So we're here just trying to win as many games as possible. As we see here, he's saying we're trying to win as many games as possible. That is the goal. There is nothing else that Donte DiVincenzo wants right now. They're just trying to win games, win championships, and win titles. If that's not something that you love from this Knicks team, I really try to wonder, what else could it be? They are doing so many things right now that make sense in terms of the additions, the moves, and what they're trying to set up. We just broke down the Achiuwa signing, why they basically did that, and the potential center, starting caliber center they could get. That's a move for the future. Mikal is a move for now and the future. And Donte hit it on all single points. It's unbelievable. We can't believe it. It's amazing. We're going to do great. But now it's time to put it down and win games. Great to talk about, great to watch, great to live in. Good moment. But the moment doesn't matter as much as what we do with it. Now we got to show them. We got to tell everybody why it's our time. You're not welcome here. And we're going to start, we're going to start running through the league game and game and game after game, because that's the roster we have in place right now. And again, we talked about training camp. Well, shout out to Steph Bondi as well, too, because during that article, he also released some information on when training camp is going to be held and also where it's going to be held. So let's break down that information as well, too. According to Steph Bondi, the Knicks plan to hold part of the training camp again at Charleston, and the Post has learned that recently. Training camp typically starts the day after Media Day, which this year falls on September 30th. So again, the Knicks are going back to Charleston to have training camp again. When they did that last year, what did that turn into? 50-plus wins. With a hobbled, not healthy, trying to be healthy, trying to claw its way to get to healthy team. And this year, we have a bench that Thibodeau is going to use. We have a starting unit that complements our stars, our all-stars, better than any unit we've ever had before. The likelihood is we're going to go into the playoffs as healthy as possible. This Knicks squad doing the same thing they did last year to be good and be great, but now doing it with a more improved roster. I don't even know what the ceiling is for this team next season. You might say 50 teams. Would it be crazy if I said 60 wins? Would that be crazy? Nobody's expecting it. Nobody's thinking about it. But what if it all works and gels quickly and everything clicks? Could they not win 60 games? 55, 57, 61? Could it not happen? You know, before last season, if I said that, that was laughable. You'd laugh at me if I said that. But this year, you're not laughing. There's no reason to laugh because the roster we have makes what I said believable. You don't think the Knicks can win 60-plus games? You must not have seen the Knicks roster lately. Let me give you the starting lineup again real quick. Jalen, Mikal, OG, Randall, and a tall guy called Mitchell Robinson. Contenders. Contenders. We are championship contenders. Donte knows it. Our entire Knicks team knows it. Our window is now, and the fact that we're holding training camp again back in Charlotte, the fact that we know holding training camp there again means something. It matters because it helped us last year. It's showing me we're going back to a routine that we know helps us and works. And if it means 50-plus wins again, I'll take it each and every time because I want a Knicks playoff series again, but I want the Knicks to go all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. And it looks like right now, folks, we are setting up to go exactly that way. Shout out to Steph Bondi for giving us this information. Again, training camp likely starts after Media Day, which is normally around September 30th. So we can expect to see training camp around that time. Can't wait to see what happens. Can't wait to see the chemistry, the interviews. I'm going to be all over it, covering each and every part of it. So if you're not subscribed to the channel already, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button. We're trying to get to 20K subscribers. I know it sounds crazy, but we're this close to 16. I want to get to 20. I want to get to that goal because once we get there, we're going to be doing even more things for you guys. I'm talking about giveaways and some very special interviews. So please help me get to 20K. It would mean a lot. Your support means a lot. And also for those special guest interviews, I got to say it now, they're going to be member only in terms of the live chat. So if you want to be sure you can be part of those live chats, make sure you hit that support button, and it's called join right next to the channel. You do that, you can get a membership from me. It ranges from $2.99 all the way from $24.99. Pick your membership and then lock yourself into not only more content, but exclusive content as well too. Content you're not going to see anywhere else. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. Without further ado, even though my guy Casual Corner Sports, my guy Nickinator, he made me debut it before I was ready to debut it. We have a new look chat. We upgraded, folks. Before I read your comments, you wouldn't even see the chat. Then you'd see the chat right over here blocking my face halfway. Now, we upgraded a little bit. Now the chat is separated. Now we have me, and now we have the chat. Give me some hearts, some thumbs up, and some comments in the chat if you like the new look on screen of how we're going to do the live chat moving forward. Now you can actually see me and see your comments in real time a lot bigger. So hopefully you guys appreciate that. But let's go to your comments because I know this part of the show is exactly what some of you guys love a lot. So let's do that. Rob Chim says, I'm with 60. Trust me. Webb says, let's go Knicks. 60 plus games is pushing it with all of the competition, maybe 52 to 55. You know, JJ, that's not bad either. 52 to 55, I'll take that as well because that's still good. That still means we're still one of the best in the Eastern Conference. I'll take it any single way. Thank you, though, for the comment. I appreciate that. New York Knicks Rewind. Shout out to my guy, always showing me love on Twitter, showing me love on YouTube. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much. He says, let's smash that like button. I agree. Smash the like button, smash the heart button, smash the subscribe button, smash all the buttons. Smash them. Break them. Nobody's going to hurt. Nobody's going to get hurt if you break a YouTube button. Don't break your mouse, though. Okay, I'm not paying for your mouse. Don't send me a bill because you broke your mouse and then you say, hey, recap. You sent me the bill, and I got to pay for the mouse. I'm not doing that. All right, don't be careful. Smash the button, not your mouse button. Okay, there's a difference. Let's keep it going. Dimitri says, "Love your content, my gym motivation. Let's go Knicks." Hey, I appreciate that, Dimitri. Thank you so much. I'm glad I'm your gym motivation. I'm glad I'm your gym motivation. I'm glad you use this as motivation. And you know what? The Knicks have motivated me to continue doing this show, just like each and every single one of you guys motivate me to do this show. The support is always overwhelming. The videos get a lot of support. The live streams get a lot of support. You love the guests. You love the new content. I'm just so happy that you guys love what's coming out as well. You guys even enjoy the new clips that are coming out, which, by the way, we have more clips coming out as well for Knicks Live. You're going to see a lot of those things broken down, so I can't wait to get to that. But let's keep going with your comments here. I don't want to get sidetracked. Rob Chin says, exactly. Let's hope he does because they gave him the players. Carl says, Jonas Val would be perfect for our squad. I am telling you guys, Jonas Valanciunas, I know, 32 years old. I get it. He's not the sexiest name at 32. If he was 28, everybody would be all over him right now. But listen, in terms of the money, he would make sense. In terms of the role, he would make sense. In terms of what we're trying to see from him in a backup role and he could start, it makes sense. I get it. Some people want us to go after one of those younger centers. But if we can't get them, what do you want us to do? We're going to have to go a different direction. We're going to have to go to somebody else. And according to this NBA executive, for anybody who's joining the live stream right now, this NBA executive did break that before the Knicks looked to sign Precious Achiuwa, they had their sights set on Jonas Valanciunas. That was the guy that the Knicks wanted to add. And now potentially that's going to be their trade deadline target. I agree with you, Carl. I think he's a perfect target. I think that the Knicks should go after him. But the main question is, will they have enough assets to do it at the trade deadline? We don't know what type of team the Wizards are going to be. Now, you can factor them being a very bad team. I think they're going to be a bad team. But does that mean they're going to be such a bad team that we're not going to be able to see Jonas Valanciunas shine? Because if Jonas doesn't shine, then maybe you have a point. But if Jonas cannot shine with that team, his value is going to be lower. The Knicks are going to pounce on that deal. They have a reason to pounce on that deal. It would make sense for them. And that's a Leon Rose move. Think about it. Precious Achiuwa, mid-level exception, those protected picks that really aren't worth anything. Think about it. What are those protected picks worth? If they don't convey, they're worth nothing. They turn into second rounders in a few years. So right now you're trading with other picks and other players, thinking to yourself, maybe a team wants them. What if they don't? What happens then? You have to make a decision as a team. And I think that's what the Knicks are doing right now. They've made a decision. They made it clear. Hey, Precious, we want you here. You're going to build up your value, but you're not going to have this no trade clause. We're making a trade at the trade deadline. We're getting better. We couldn't do it right now because the price is too high. We're going to wait to the trade deadline. Prices are going to get lower because teams are going to get desperate. And that's where Leon comes in. Did it already. Did it last year. And he's going to do it again this year. But shout out to you, Carl. Really appreciate you and your comment. Will says, smash all the buttons. Hey, I'm saying, man, smash them all. Just smash them. Don't break anything, though. You can smash buttons, though. Kim says, pause, no Diddy on taking every single way. Oh, my God. You know what? The kids nowadays, my son who's 12, he doesn't say pause yet. The day he says pause, I'm going to ground him for 2 months, by the way. Because all of you guys are going to get my son grounded the day he says pause. Because you guys keep checking me on stuff like that. You want to check me on the basketball stuff? Want to make fun of how I say certain names? I still can't say Mamade Diakate, right? Whatever his name is. I'm glad he's not on the roster anymore because I don't have to worry about his name. But at the same time, there is no way at this stage in my life that I can be caught falling for pause, man. I can't. There's just I'll do it every time. I'm sorry. But I appreciate you, though. Appreciate for the comment. Slim Slammer says, Miles Turner is the key. He slayed us in the playoffs. He is, but do you think the Pacers are going to let him go? They saw the series too. And I'm not saying that they don't really have a replacement either. But even if they did, I don't know if it's incentivized to trade him to a rival right now. They know who the Knicks are. The Knicks and the Pacers are likely going to see each other again. I don't know if it's going to be in the playoffs. Maybe it is, but definitely during the regular season. So we're going to have to, think about that as well too. Let's see here. Nick says, why not just grab a vet min for now as insurance for the time being? They might do that still. They still could do that. We're going to actually get into the next topic. I'm glad that you actually mentioned that because, Nick, it sends us into a perfect segue into another topic that I wanted to speak about today, and that is the mid-level exception. Because a lot of people thought when we signed Chuma Okeke that we lost the mid-level or we lost some salary cap or we lost a playoff rotation spot. We didn't. We didn't lose anything like that, folks. Right now, at this very moment, the Knicks still have that spot available on their roster, and they still have the mid-level exception available to them as well, too. So they can go out there and they can use it to get another player in free agency on this team. Now, who should that player be? Now, in my opinion, when you look at the roster, you should always use your money for a player that you need. Not a player that you like or you might need, a player that you need right now. So for today, we're going to talk about players that the Knicks can target with the mid-level exception. And for me, I'm going to focus on centers because that is the only player that I would want the Knicks to go after right now in terms of a free agent. A center that they can get on this roster to legitimately back up Mitchell Robinson and push Precious Achiuwa back to where he's comfortable, backing up Julius Randall at the backup 4 spot. Now, obviously, that's going to cut into his time because if he does that, Achiuwa is not going to see the floor that much because we know from Obi Toppin days, if you're backing up Julius Randall, you're not going to see the floor a lot but maybe he's okay with that. I'm not sure at this point in time, but it's clear. If you have the mid-level left, you want to use it for players that you need. We're also going to cover some players that the Knicks don't necessarily need, but they're free agents, and the Knicks could potentially go after them. But for right now, let's take a look at that centers. So these are the lists right now of top free agent centers available that the Knicks can use their mid-level exception on. We have Bismack Biyombo, Tristan Thompson, Bojan Marjanovic, Omer Yurvitson, Harry Giles, JaVale McGee, Damian Jones, and Udoka Azubuike. Hope I said that last name right. I think I said it right. But Udoka Azubuike. So those are basically the top 8 names you can look at in terms of free agent centers available. Now, the list is not great. We are looking at free agency now. It's August 2nd. You can't expect the list to be the best, the most amazing list ever, but those are the free agent centers available right now. Out of all those players, we can go through some of them. I don't really think about Tristan Thompson too much. I know he's available, not somebody that I'm looking at. I know he has championship experience. Wouldn't mind if the Knicks went in that direction, but not seeing it. Same thing for Boban, not really seeing it as well, too. I know some fans in the Knicks organization, not Knicks organization, some Knicks fans, New York fans, actually love watching this kid play. So maybe that's a guy that you want to see the Knicks go after. Omer, I already covered him last week, and I'm going to do another video about Omer this Sunday at 10 p.m., so look out for that. But Omer, I'd like to see him as well, too. I think Omer, not only does he fit the skill set, but he's young enough to get better under Tom Thibodeau, and he wouldn't cost a lot. So maybe the Knicks do that as well, too. They might not even have to use their full mid-level, even though they can. Maybe they don't want to, but these are some options that they have. We're going to continue here. Harry Giles. Now, this is a guy who used to play with the Lakers. We're going to get into him because for me, there's only a few names on this list that I want the Knicks to go after, and Giles is one of them. JaVale McGee, not somebody. He's too old at this point in time. I don't care if he's won championships before. He's not on a roster for a reason. Maybe he comes here. Maybe he does something significant. But what if he has more McGee moments and makes more Shaq and the Fool moments? I don't want to see that on the Knicks. So in my opinion, let's not do that. Let's go ahead and skip over that and go to somebody else. Damian Jones, wouldn't mind him as well, although I don't know in terms of his availability. I think he's in talks right now to actually make a return, so I don't know exactly what his status is, but if he's available, wouldn't mind the Knicks looking at him. But let's go to some players that I think the Knicks should potentially go after on that list in terms of free agents. Again, don't go crazy at me. I'm not saying these are the names that I want the Knicks to go after without a doubt, definite. But if that's the list I'm working with, and those are the players available in free agency, and I have my mid-level available, then I'm going after these specific players. Bismack and Harry. These two guys are the guys I'm going to go after. Because for Bismack, he's a little bit older, yes, but he's a shot blocking specialist, as you're seeing here from Hoops Hype over here giving us this information. He's a shot blocking specialist who won't provide much else on either end of the floor, but can still have a role thanks to his rim protection. Now listen, guys. Say what you want to say about him. Say the fact that he's limited, won't give you that much in terms of points. He'll give you rebounds. He'll give you block shots. He'll give you defense. Who's our coach? Tom Thibodeau. So you're telling me he can't play some significant minutes off the bench? He'll be able to do that when necessary. And if he needs to start, he can do it as well, too. There are levels to this. He's not the best pick, but he is somebody the Knicks can go after and potentially utilize. He does suffer from some injury concerns, so that is still there. I'm not saying he doesn't have his own issues as well. Every player on that list, mind you, has their own issues. You're not going to find the perfect player. That doesn't exist, especially not on August 2nd when you're looking at free agents. You're not going to find a perfect fit in free agency on August 2nd. So the best thing you can do is try to make the best out of the bad situation. And right now, in terms of making the best out of a bad situation, Bismack Biyombo, he's a player you look at. His 2023-2024 stats, again, didn't do much. 4.4 points, 2.2 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 56.5% from the field, 48.1% from the free throw line. Not great again, but you're not getting him to be an offensive threat. You're getting him as a backup to Mitchell Robinson. And if Mitchell Robinson goes down, this kid right here, this guy can give you some this this guy can still give you some still high-level defense. So if you lose Robinson, you still get some defense in Bismack as well, too. It might be a way for the Knicks to look at with their mid-level exception. Something to consider. His earnings last year was $5 million. Coincidentally, the Knicks have about $5.2 million in their mid-level. So if they sign him, he fits perfectly in there. That's potentially what the Knicks are going to do. May not like it, but that is a player to watch. Another player to watch, Harry Giles with the Los Angeles Lakers. He's a former superstar prospect who had injuries totally derail his career. Still retains some bounce, allowing him to be, an around-the-basket finisher. His stats for last year, 2.1 points, 1.4 rebounds, 0.3 assists, 46% from the field, and 21.4% from the three-point range. His career earnings are $8 million, and last year he made $2.3 million. So clearly, the Knicks wouldn't even have to use the full mid-level exception. They could use the mid-level part of it to sign this kid. They don't even have to use the full mid-level. The problem is, if you do sign him, like they just stated, he has injury concerns, but the upside was ridiculous. It's crazy. And if he's not going to cost you that much money, maybe the Knicks like the upside and want to take a flyer out on this kid and give him a chance. If you give this kid a chance, you don't know what he can become. You don't know what he can, you don't know what he can become. You don't know what he can do. And you don't know what he can give this Knicks team if he's given the minutes to shine. Now, will he get those minutes as a backup on this team? If the Knicks really like him and they don't have any problem pushing Precious Achiuwa to the power forward backup, then I think you can make a case for Giles getting some legitimate time with this roster. Legitimate time might be 15 minutes. It might be 18 minutes. It might be more if Mitchell Robinson goes down. But that's an opportunity. And with the upside, how can you say no? And under Tom Thibodeau, he might be a very, very, very good player. Develop into an even better player than he is right now. Injuries are always going to be a concern. So you might be asking yourself, why would you get a backup who is injury prone? Because my argument the entire time, even when the Knicks were looking to get Isaiah Hartenstein back, was what we were going to do with Mitchell Robinson. Because how could you have a backup with that injury history? And I think the same thing could be true with Giles. The only difference is, though, he's a little bit younger and his contract, he's not making anything. The Knicks can get him for less than their mid-level right now, probably. You might want to go out there. You might want to sign him, and you might want to make sure he's somebody you can utilize on this team. I'm not taking shots or shade at any other centers that we have on this roster. I know we have Ariel Huckaporty, but guess what? He's on a two-way, and I understand two-way players can be converted to a standard roster spot. I understand that. I don't know if that's going to happen with him because what I saw in Summer League, I saw a player that is good, has talent, has flashes, but needs development. And that's okay. It's okay to need development. Doesn't mean he's not going to be great for the Knicks later on. Maybe next year he becomes an even better force. And I want to see that. But he's not going to get that time this year. And I know why. Because look at our depth. We just signed Precious Achiuwa. All of the reports have us basically signing or going after, trading for a center at the trade deadline, with Precious Achiuwa being one of the main catalysts to get that trade off the ground. So we have all those reports indicating that. And of course, before we signed Achiuwa, we were linked to a number of other centers. The Knicks already know what I know and what you know deep down in your heart. If the Knicks were okay with what they had at the center position, they would have kept what they had, done nothing else, made no other moves. The fact of the matter is, they're concerned about Mitchell Robinson and his health. They're concerned about Jericho Sims and the fact that he's still developing at this stage of his career, regardless of injuries that have derailed his career or anything like that. And a video is going to come out about Jericho Sims as well, too, later this weekend. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But with all the things that this Knicks team has to go with right now, with the fact that this Knicks team does have depth at the center position, but not depth that they trust, you can bet that one of the centers here might be a player that the Knicks go after and use their mid-level on. Whether it's Bismack or whether it's Harry, I wouldn't mind either of these players because the Knicks have a need for them. But let's say they don't want to go after a center. Let's say they choose to pivot and say, you know what? I'm good with my centers. I'm good with Precious Achiuwa. Jericho Sims is fully healthy now. not dealing with injuries, working with Mike Bibby, working on the jump shot, the turnaround shot, his moves in the post. He might be somebody to look at. So I don't care right now. I'm good with centers. So maybe I don't want to look at that. So then you look at who are the other free agents that are not quote unquote centers. Maybe they have size, maybe they don't, that the Knicks could potentially use that mid-level on. Now, some of these players, they might be available, but I don't intend to say that the mid-level might be enough to sign them. Maybe it's enough because the Knicks are where they are right now. The Knicks, if you haven't noticed, are a contender. And sometimes when you're a contender, a player will take a little bit less to join you, either because they want a championship, they want to up their value, or the latter. They want to do everything else and that, everything plus that. So if that's the case, maybe that's why you join the Knicks. Let's go back and take a look at that list and take a look at the other free agents that potentially could be available. Shout out to Hoops Hype as well, too, for giving us that following list. We have Isaiah Okoro, Lonnie Walker, C.D. Osman, Taylor Horton-Tucker, Landry Shamet, Markelle Fultz, Dennis Smith, Doug McDermott, Jay Crowder, Marcus Morris, and Jordan Goodwin. So all of those players right now, they're not the only free agents, obviously. There's a lot of other free agents, but that's primarily the top 10, 11 players that you would look at right now in free agency if they're available and saying, could I get one of those players on my team? Could I sign one of those players on my team? Now, some of the smaller players I'm not going to go after. I'm not going to even want the Knicks to go after. It doesn't really make sense to me. If you're going to go after another player that's not a center, it would have to be a power forward or it'd have to be some type of forward, in my opinion, because that's where the need exists as well, too. If Achiuwa is going to be the backup big, then you go after the other players that can play backup to Julius Randle. And on this list, there's not that many options there. I definitely don't want Lonnie Walker. Wouldn't mind a C.D. Osman if it was right in terms of the money and he would accept a lower contract. Wouldn't mind that. I actually wouldn't even mind the Jay Crowder because I feel like if you can get past the attitude issues, if he's playing in the right organization, we've seen him play very good basketball. Marcus Morris, I definitely wouldn't mind him coming back as well, too. But again, it's all about if the Knicks can afford these guys. I like their intention. I love their mindset. I love their attitude. I love the fact that they want to win. And if you have those players on your bench, the type of leader that they are, the veteran presence that they can give you, especially a Marcus Morris. And Marcus, man, that kid, his attitude, the way he tries to defend his players, I mean, that's the type of player you want as well, too. Somebody who can contribute on and off the floor. That's somebody else you can look at. I'm not saying the Knicks are going to go in that direction, but it's something to consider. They don't have to go after a center. I want them to go after a center because when you look at the team, that's the obvious need. It's obvious. You can look at every single position right now, the depth chart and everything. Center is making me nervous. It's Robinson, Achiuwa, and Sims. That's your center depth for a championship roster. You'd be scared. You'd be worried. You'd want to be looking at different names, different free agents, different players that you can get. And I'm not saying any of these names stops the bleeding, but at least if you get one of them, it gives me more confidence that if Mitchell Robinson goes down, that at least you have somebody else, a body there that plays that position more naturally that can help this roster. Bismack, for me, makes the most sense because he fits the mid-level. He fits all of it. He fits Tom Thibodeau. He'll play the defense. He can play backup. He's already done that. And he maybe his minutes will be limited, but he's going to be coming off the bench. I don't mind that. Giles is somebody who's a project. And again, the injuries are the only concern. You go with him. Maybe it works out and you get somebody that maybe you can get somebody amazing at the trade deadline if you include him and Achiuwa in a deal because his upside is that crazy. But if you don't want to go that route and you skip him, then again, you have other free agents to go after. But I don't suggest the Knicks to go after that when there's a clear need you still have to fill. And if you have the money to do it, then why not just do it? Why go after anybody else? Why entertain anything else? We have a need. If we have a need, we've identified the need. We know what it is. We don't trust Achiuwa in that role because we've seen Tom Thibodeau already say he sees Achiuwa as a 4. If your head coach is saying he sees the player that you just got to back up Mitchell Robinson as more of a 4, then you still need to upgrade at the 5. And the only names right now are these players. Pick. Choose one. You want any one of these guys, by all means, pick one of them. I have my favorites because of my own reasons. But if you don't want any of those players, pick another one of these guys. Choose anybody else on this list. I don't care. Well, I do care to an extent. I don't want JaVale McGee, so I do care to an extent. But what I mean is pick a guy on that list in terms of a free agent center. Because if the Knicks do that, it'll tell me they are making a move to help this roster now and later. You might ask yourself, how would adding a center right now, maybe even for a year, help this team today? The Knicks are going after a center at the trade deadline, right? That means the team that you're trading with is giving away a center, yes? What would they probably want back? Probably a good piece and also a good center that they can utilize to basically make up for the player they just lost. That's another reason why the Knicks should make that move. Everything is looking like they might do that. I hope that's the case. But again, when we think we know everything, it pivots left and things change. And then we have to make do with the new information. Right now, these are the players the Knicks can use that mid-level exception for. But as the days go by, those players are going to be gone. Other teams are going to pick them up, or they're going to sign with another team somewhere else. And then that mark is going to dry up even more. The Knicks have to make a decision. They have to make one soon. They have the mid-level. Now it's time to use it. Hopefully they do. Before we go to other comments here, and I really want to get to the comments that you have, I want to talk about the ESPN grade that the Knicks got for their offseason moves. Because right now we're talking about offseason moves. We're talking about Precious Achiuwa. We're talking about Mikal Bridges. We're talking about re-signing Jalen Brunson, re-signing OG Anunoby. Yes, we missed out on Isaiah Hartenstein, but I think if you looked at the moves in totality that the Knicks have made, there are a lot more positives than there are negatives. But it depends on who you ask. Before we get into the scout that absolutely torched us and hated the moves that we made, let's get to the ESPN report that praised the Knicks, our offseason moves, and gave us the following grades for what we were able to accomplish. When I saw it, I couldn't believe that ESPN was the one that gave us this. So it was shocking to me, to say the least. Shout out to ESPN for giving us the following information as well, too. As you can see here, we have A-. A-. The Knicks receiving an A- from ESPN. Now, I understand it's not all of ESPN giving us an A-. It's actually Kevin Peloton, who's writing this, giving us an A-. But you know what? He's written about the Knicks for a long time. I don't remember the last time the Knicks got an A- for their offseason. Can you? Especially from ESPN. That is why it's significant and it's something to talk about. And you know what? We always often cover the hate. We always cover I quote unquote call it the hater alerts, You know what? Let's call this the praise alert, because we often don't talk about when the Knicks get praised. But let's do that today, because this was some good praise from what Kevin Peloton was saying here. Let's review what he had to say about the Knicks. According to him, having gotten a game short of the Eastern Conference Finals despite multiple key injuries, the time was right for the Knicks to deal nearly all of their available first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. Despite a pricey new deal for OG Anunoby, 5 years, $212.5 million. Bridges' below-market contract and the money Jalen Brunson left on the table by agreeing to a sub-max extension gives New York a window of at least 2 years before pushing them into second apron territory. The Knicks need to find a replacement for Isaiah Hartenstein, who signed with the Thunder for a far higher annual salary than New York could ever offer him. But the Knicks have depth at other 4 positions right now as well, too. They have a lot of depth at that position as well, I should say. They have depth at nearly every single possession that you can imagine right now, except the center position. Because when you look at the center, besides Mitchell Robinson and Achiuwa, who's not really a center, it's only Jericho Sims. But even though even though Isaiah Hartenstein chose to leave the Knicks and join OKC, A- is a perfect grade for New York. It's the grade that I actually gave New York, because you can criticize that move all you want to. You can look at the centers all you want to. And by all means, if you want to do that, do that. Do that till your heart is content. By all means, I'm not going to stop you. But if you look at the moves, all of the moves the Knicks have made, every single thing that they've done for this team, how we've gotten better. Look at where we were last season in our starting roster. Look at what our starting roster is going to be to start this season. Where we're projected, how many wins we're projected to get, and where we're going to be at the end of the regular season. We already know we're going to be a playoff team. The question is where. If we're a number 1 seed, I don't think anybody would be shocked. Number 2, you're not going to be shocked. Number 3, you're not going to be shocked. That's the thing. The Knicks have finally made the moves that we're not only getting recognition for, but nobody's shocked when you make these statements anymore because New York finally has the roster to deliver on all of them. Championship contention, that is where we are right now. You want to know what it feels like? Sit back, relax, kick your feet up, and listen to me as I say this. The Knicks are in championship contention right now. ESPN said we had a window of at least 2 years. You know what they didn't say? At most 5 years. And that's if everybody follows along with Jalen Brunson. And after your superstar does something like that, best believe everybody else is following along. If you love the NBA, if you follow this league, you will love the Knicks, you will love what they did, and you will love their offseason moves. If you don't like the Knicks, you don't love everything that they do, and you just become a big hater, you turn into somebody else. Somebody who had to remain anonymous, but shout out to Tim Bontemps from ESPN for giving us the following information as well, too, because without him, we wouldn't have it. One scout talked about the Knicks and our offseason moves. You can ask a lot of people. They love it. This scout hated it, judged the Knicks very poorly, and thought the Knicks really aren't a better team right now than they were before with the moves that we made. That's at least what I got from it by reading the following. Let's go ahead and break this down. Shout out to Sports Illustrated for giving us the following information as well, too. One scout called out the New York Knicks as having the worst offseason in the NBA. The Knicks also received 5 votes for best offseason. What? One scout called out the New York Knicks for what? Worst offseason? There are some teams that didn't do anything. Nothing. Not a thing. And we have the worst offseason? How can you get worse and you do something that clearly makes you better? What? Who are you? No wonder you're anonymous. I would be anonymous too if I made this comment. Let's continue. Again, one scout called out the Knicks as having the worst season in the NBA, the worst offseason in the NBA. Surprisingly, this is according to the scout, an East scout said the Knicks had the league's worst offseason, pointing to the combination of losing center Isaiah Hartenstein, giving a near max deal to OG Anunoby, and paying a heavy price to land Mikal Bridges from the Brooklyn Nets. I'm not convinced they'll be better this year. I'm not convinced they'll be better this year. Okay. Well, clearly you drank before talking to Tim Bontemps, because if you didn't drink, you would have made a different suggestion here. What a poor, extremely poor take. One of the worst teams in terms of moves of the offseason? You're not convinced we're going to be better this year? You don't need to be convinced. You know what you need to do? Don't say anything else. Don't make any further comments. Go sit on your couch. Maybe open a beer, whatever you like to drink, and watch. Just watch. Don't judge. Watch. Watch what this Knicks team does every single game next season. You want to talk about somebody who's going to live to regret his comments? This anonymous whoever guy, executive, is going to live to regret these comments. Not only are they widely ludicrous, it's craziness, craziness on craziness on craziness, but the Knicks losing Isaiah Hartenstein was not because they didn't want to keep him. They gave him the most money they could give him. And even Hartenstein stated, if it wasn't OKC, he would have stayed. What do you want them to do? They couldn't force their way to give him more money. What did you want them to do? So that doesn't make sense. OG Anunoby, you know how they just stated, right? The little quote there, near max. Trying to gloss over it. Near max. What they don't say, OG was scheduled to entertain free agency. And then he signed for less than the max. And many teams, including our rival, the Philadelphia 76ers, were rumored to be able to offer him or wanting to offer him the most money, the max money that they could offer him. But instead of that, he chose to join the Knicks, what we were building, and not even entertain free agency. So he put everybody's mind at ease. What if he didn't do that? What if he left? What would you have said? The Knicks lost OG. Failure of a trade. So you would have criticized us for that too. Either way, we would have got criticized. And OG Anunoby, whether you believe he's worth the money or not, one thing is true. Are the Knicks a better team when he's on the floor? Are we more of an impactful team? A more effective team? If all of those things are true, then you know what? Pay that man. That's exactly what they did. Jalen Brunson's contract extension, taking less, allowing us to be more flexible as we move forward. There's no hate toward that. There's hate in your heart. Let me take a guess. And Tim Bontemps, if you're watching this, message me if you can. Just tell me if I'm right. I would suggest this scout is either in Toronto or more likely with Philadelphia. Let me know if I'm right, because with all of my being, this sounds like a Philadelphia 76ers scout. And he sounds mad. And I would be mad too. A hobbled Knicks team beat you bad in the playoffs. And now a fully healthy Knicks team with a loaded, stacked roster is going to do it all over again in so much easier fashion. Some people fear the Sixers. Me? I don't fear the Sixers at all. The Sixers should fear injury because one of them shuts their entire season down. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys have to say about it? I want to hear from the chat. We've been away from you guys for a little bit because we were covering a lot of topics there. Mid-level. People hating on us. People loving us. So let's go to the chat, see what you guys have to say. And brand new viewers, you haven't seen it, got a new chat. We have a new chat. New vision, new look, new everything. So that's the way you guys can see your comments a little bit bigger and see my reactions a little bit more in real time. While you guys look at the chat and you build up your comments, let me take a drink from the black cup. I'm not telling you how much or what is in the black cup today. You guys can guess. It is Friday, TGIF, and we're going for about another hour. All right, so about in 30 minutes, we're going to get to the live chat comments like this. All right, let's keep it going. Let's see what your comments are. Optimist2G says, keep your eyes on Jonas Valanciunas once trade season kicks off. Absolutely 100,000%. I agree with you. Jonas Valanciunas, I already covered it in the beginning. He's going to be the player the Knicks look to get. He's the trade deadline target. He's the player that the Knicks want. He's the player that the Knicks wanted to go after before they signed Precious. They couldn't do it. They couldn't execute a trade. Maybe his value goes down some. I would think his value goes down some, at least when it comes to the trade deadline. You got to figure the Washington Wizards are not going to be a great team come the trade deadline. So maybe his value's down, and that's going to be music to Leon Rose's ear. Rex says, Jermarnie Sharp, 7'5", shot blocker from Ole Miss. That's our backup center. Look him up, please, at the Knicks recap. I appreciate you. I've seen you actually mention him a few times. Shout out to my guy, D Black. We were actually talking about him in the DMs. That's one of my guys who I actually have to get on the show, Knicks Live. He's not really a content creator, but I speak to him as if he's an insider. So I have a great relationship with that guy, man. He's one of my good friends. So we're talking about this actual kid, Sharp. I believe he's signed with another team already. I forget what team picked him up. Somebody got to remind me in the chat. I forget what team picked him up, but I think he's already signed. But no, I don't really like that kid a lot, Rex. And there's a reason for it. You're looking at the size, man. And the size is good. He's tall. That's all he is. He's tall, man. And just because you're tall doesn't mean you're a great player. You know, tall people doesn't mean you're going to be the greatest shot blocker on this planet. It means you have an ability to be a good shot blocker or be a good player, but you have to have an affinity for the game, and he just doesn't have it. And I don't know if he ever will. Height doesn't mean everything. So good question, though. I appreciate you. I think he did sign, though. I'm pretty sure he did sign. Somebody check me on that. Let me check my phone, actually. Check my phone. I'm pretty sure. I'll just go to my chat with my guy, D Black. I'm pretty sure he did sign, though. What chat did you put that in? Hold on. So many chats here. Give me a second. I'm pretty sure he did sign, though. Yeah, undrafted free agent center, Jermarnie Sharp, tallest player in college at 7'5", has reached an agreement on a 1-year deal with the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know, but apparently you're telling me it's Summer League, bro, not on NBA. So you're telling me it's not a real deal. You're telling me it's a training camp deal. If it's a training camp deal and he can be waived, okay, I understand that. But again, I think he's tall, but he doesn't have a skill set. So I understand that. I think he's just tall for no reason, in my opinion. If he develops some games, sure, but he needs a lot of work. You're thinking if we get him, he's going to get any time? I would rather play Ariel Huckaporty over him. And Huckaporty's not even that tall, but he has a better skill set than he does. So I would rather go with him. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying it's a bad move. I understand why you would do it if you're looking for development. And the kid has a lot of upside because of his height. But in terms of his skill set, it's not anything special. So you're going to have to convince me why I'd want to go after him and get him on this team besides he's tall. I appreciate your comment, though. Let's keep it going. Delmar says, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining the stream today. We have about 202 concurrent viewers, and we keep going up and down. I appreciate all you guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. We are on the road to 20K, and your support means so much to me. So please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Smash that like button as well, too. Really does help with the algorithm. Thank you, guys. Tony Riviera says off-season. Oh, well, your comment just got past there. Tony Riviera says, though, off-season moves are done by the Knicks. Excuse me. Done by now, I think the Knicks are going to wait for the deadline. Yes, they absolutely are. Well, off-season moves, if you mean trades. Trades, yes. In terms of trade, they're not making a trade anymore. It's too hard to make a trade right now. Once you sign Precious, that basically said no more trades at this point in time. At this point, though, if you're talking about deadline, that's the next time you're going to see a trade. A move, they still have that mid-level, bro. They still have that mid-level. They still have to use it, so they still have to make a move. So again, these are the players that are going to be on the board. If you're going to use the mid-level, you might use it on one of these guys. We have centers right on this list here that are still available that the Knicks can go after right now. And maybe they should go after them. Because again, we need other players on this team. It's vital. It's important that we solve this problem. You're not going to be able to solve it with free agency, but at least make it a little bit better. Knicks 100, a GM says, Landale gave Embiid and Davis the business in the Olympics. Appreciate you, and I appreciate your comment, Knicks 100 GM. Optimist 2G says, Knicks can sign one more, go to the main roster. You have to have 14. 15 is the maximum. Agreed. It was Troy. What was Troy? Oh, is Troy? I'm not sure what that is, Brianna. Might have to give me that again. Nick Knack says, who's coming off of our roster? Nobody needs to come off of our roster to sign somebody in free agency. We have an open roster spot, so we can sign somebody now. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. We can sign somebody right now in free agency. We have the open roster spot. Chuma Okeke is on an Exhibit 10 deal. That's a non-guaranteed one-year deal, and the Knicks can waive him before the season starts, and it won't hurt anything that they're trying to do. It's basically a training camp deal, so don't worry about that. The Knicks still have moves that they can make. Let's see what other comments that we have here. I want to make sure that I'm going to all the current comments that we got. Pulsar says, the only player I would give a shot on that list is JaVale McGee. You would give JaVale McGee a shot? Why? So you can hear McGee in it? McGee in it. That's what I used to say when I was young, when JaVale McGee would make a fumble or an issue, and I knew that play would be in Shaq and the Fool. He McGee'd it again. McGee in it. McGee in it. McGee in it. It was my thing. For a while, it was my thing watching the NBA because he would just make so many issues and problems. Now, I understand. I get it. He's not going to be a prominent figure, prominent role, barely play any minutes. Then why you want him on the team? He's going to barely play any minutes, not going to really be utilized. I don't want him on the team. I don't want players on this roster that we are never going to utilize ever. It's not going to make sense. It doesn't make sense. Why do that? Why get players on this team that you're never going to do anything with? And that's what JaVale McGee would be about. He's not on a roster right now. Do you think that's by choice? Do you think it's by choice that he's not on a roster? Or you think that nobody's calling him? Same thing. I see there's so many comments about DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins already admitted himself his NBA career is over. He can't play in the NBA anymore. You think his knees can still bang with some of the best bigs in the game? It can't happen anymore. He's a shell of himself. I don't know what we're doing here. You can't fix it. Right now, all you can do is try to get a player that's young enough that you'll utilize and increase their value. The goal right now is to get to the trade deadline. And once you're at the trade deadline, use what you had to make valuable. That's what we need. That's the main thing right now, guys. 1 second, guys. I'm getting a phone call. So give me 1 second as I mute the chat. Sorry about that. That was my son's school calling and basically telling me my son has some trips, and if you don't sign his paperwork, he's not going to the trips. So I'm going to do that when he gets home. He didn't give it to me yesterday, though. I don't know why he didn't give that to me. But anyways, I apologize about that. I believe we were talking about JaVale McGee before we got, interrupted here. And yeah, JaVale for me is cooked. I agree with the chat. Do not want him. Do not want him anywhere on this team. There's no need for him. I want players that are going to have a role on this team. If you're not going to have a role, do not come to this team. Do not come to this roster. Do not join the Knicks. We need players that are actually going to be able to be utilized at the trade deadline to make a trade. If I'm not going to see you, you're not going to have value. If you don't have value, you can't help me when I need to make a trade. The Knicks know this. This is not going to be a repeat of last year. You want value, you build it throughout the season. And now we have the players to do just that. Let's keep it going in the chat. You guys are live. Lemmy Live says, Optimus 2G, he can live in Soho. I'm not sure what you guys are talking about there. Can you guys fill me in? I'm not looking at the chat all the time. You got to remember that. I'm looking at different things. That's why when you use the super chat, if you ever use the super chat, that's how you make your comment get prioritized. I see automatically. I read it on air. Otherwise, I might miss it. Just an FYI there, guys. But let's keep going here. Rex says, Scap should get a two-way, though I agree. Yeah, Rex, I agree. No, he should get a two-way. Absolutely, I agree with you. But will he is only if he can play himself into the two-way. He's going to have to do it at camp. Will he do it at camp? That's the only thing. Will he even get the training camp invitation? I'm not sure he's going to even be able to do that. remember, it's all about cost and what the Knicks are going to be able to do with the players they have available. But it is something to consider. It is something to think about in terms of players that some people may want to get. I know I will sign them slips. I see the chat. I will sign them slips. I promise. Don't worry. My son's going to be going to them trips. I promise you. I think he's going to the zoo on one of them and a city bike tour for the other one, which is cool for the kids. So I'm definitely going to make sure we do that. But let's keep it going here and see what else we gotta see in the chat. Let's see here. Why my posts keep getting skipped? My bad, Double A. What's your post? I don't see it. Let's see. Where's Double A? Oh, I see you over here. Neither Embiid or George will play a full season, not even 60 games. We whooped on the 76ers with our bench unit. What will happen when we face OG, Bridges, and an all-star power forward, Randall? Lose. That's what. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Shout out to you, Double A. I apologize, my brother. For some reason, when the comments come in, sometimes they just keep pushing up, and we're going to miss it sometimes. So, I apologize about that. But let me tell you right now with this stuff, I want to tell you, when it comes down to it, the 76ers are not a team that anybody really has to worry about, especially not for me, because they're an injury away from that team being shut down. So I absolutely agree with you, Double A. I agree with your comment. I think the 76ers are not a team to worry about. If anything, I'm more worried about the Bucks than I am about the Sixers. I know the deal. I know the situation. I already addressed this, but you know the situation. I appreciate you, though, and I appreciate your comment. But let's keep it going here. Oh, you guys are loving my son's story with regards to the trip. Yeah, the Knicks 100 GM says little man said F them trips. He probably did. That's probably why I didn't see those slips. He didn't probably want to go on them trips. He wanted to come home, play on his phone, play on his PS4, PS5, all those things. I mean, that's what kids like to do nowadays. But listen, I mean, it's not going to work. Not with me. I always check his bag. So, I mean, maybe with other parents, not me. Double A says nothing but love. I appreciate you. Let's see what else you have here. One more comment, and then we're going to go to the next topics that we have here. Nick Yak says, Precious would not have played center over Randall last year. He won't this year either. Randall is occasionally going to play small ball center. Listen, I do not think that's going to be the case. You think that the Knicks are going to make sure that Julius Randle plays small ball center? What gives you that indication? What would tell you that he's going to play backup center? He's never done it really for the Knicks. Even on small occasions where he had, Tom Thibodeau did not go with it for a long period of time. If anything, he skipped right past it. That's what happens. So, I mean, my goodness, I don't know if you're really ever going to see Precious Achiuwa legitimately play backup power forward to Julius Randle. Excuse me, play backup center over by Julius Randle. I think that if you're telling me, I should say this, if you're telling me that you think Julius Randle is going to play backup center over Precious Achiuwa in some games, I don't think that's going to be accurate, because I think that's going to affect Julius Randle's game. He's not a center. Maybe he can play the position because of his size, and yes, he can get rebounds, but that's not his role. He's not a center. He's a power forward. If you put him in that role, in that position, then he's going to have to play out of his natural position. We already see some players cannot operate the right way like that. So why do that? If Achiuwa already worked there, and we saw that, if we get a free agent that's a center and we can add him to the roster and he can be backup center to Mitchell Robinson, I'd rather do that, especially if your coach is Tom Thibodeau, because that's what works best for him as well, too. You have to play to everybody's strength, not only to your roster strength, but to your coach's strength as well, too. If your coach is best off with a center that's dominant defensively and can clean up the glass and get a lot of rebounds, then that's where you go. But if that's not what the case is, if your coach requires a different type of big, maybe somebody else can utilize Randall at the 5 spot, then maybe that's what you do as well, too. But for me, I think Randall, if he does play any center, it will be limited. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I believe it will happen, but it's going to be limited. That's not going to be a primary position for him. He's going to primarily play power forward. And the center spot is going to be, at least right now, between Mitchell Robinson and Precious Achiuwa, whether you like it or not. One other comment, and then we are going to the rest of the chat because we have a little bit of the show left to do, and I want to make sure I get to it. We were going for a lot of comments here, though, because you guys kept going off. The chat kept going off, so I had to. Last comment from, who haven't we gone to yet? Keith. Keith Turner says, why would you put Julius at the 5? Some of these people are crazy. We're going to take that as the last comment today, and before we go to another segment of the show, and then we're going to go back to the comments before we end the show today. So I agree with you. Listen, Keith, I don't know why. Why does anybody do anything? Why do we include Randall in all these mock trades for players that have no business being traded for Julius Randall? I don't know why people do that. I don't know why I see a new Julius Randall trade on my timeline each and every day. I can't make people do the things that they do or believe the things that they believe. All I can say is my truth and what I feel is the most appropriate way for the Knicks to go forward. And clearly, what we've seen this Knicks team do time and time again. When the Knicks could have used Julius Randall as a 5, whether it was a starting 5 or a backup 5, they chose not to do it. Why? Because they understand his role and what it means to this team. He cannot be the 5 when we need a dominant 4. And nobody can be that dominant 4 like Julius Randall. So you're going to need him for that direction as well, too. And in terms of the 5 spot, he is not a natural center. So you're going to be asking him to play out of position. That doesn't always work. When you ask a player to play out of position, sometimes they don't feel comfortable. They don't like it. And even if sometimes it may work, do you want to take the risk of running a player that is an all-star, 3-time all-star, in a role he doesn't like, that he doesn't feel he can maximize his skill set? It wouldn't make sense. So I can understand why people may want to see a small ball lineup because of the roster we have right now. But I wouldn't count on seeing it because this Knicks team will not allow you to see it because we're going to be so stacked, so good. We're going to be switching so well. We're not going to have a need for Randall to play the 5 because we're going to have Mitchell Robinson, hopefully whoever the Knicks sign with that mid-level exception, who I hope is a center, and Precious Achiuwa. That's going to take us at least all the way to the trade deadline so we can make that final move for the backup center that we need. And as you guys know, especially if you started the stream with me, that backup center potentially will be Jonas Valanciunas. And I think you guys have to love that. But one of the last topics I want to cover today, and it's a really big topic for me, probably a big topic for some of you guys as well too. It's Julius Randall and that contract extension. Now, I dropped a number of videos already about Randall, that contract extension, and the likelihood that he's not going to get the extension with the Knicks. So we understand that. But what about this other side of things here? What if the Knicks do something, and again, it's not crazy to think that Leon Rose and this Knicks front office would do something that we're not expecting. OG and Mikal Bridges, 2 moves nobody expected at all. So could the Knicks pull off another unexpected move and give Julius Randall a contract extension? Of course, anything is possible. But at least according to one NBA insider, he claims that Randall would have to take a lot less to get an extension with the Knicks. Randall already took less with his other contract with New York. He already signed He already signed with CAA again. He rejoined them. He wouldn't have done that if he was not going to get paid. And all the reports coming out from Ian Bagley and from Randall's camp is stating that it's not even on the forefront, a contract extension right now in either of their minds. They're not thinking about it. They're just thinking about the team, the upcoming season, and how they can win titles. But maybe, let's say they're thinking about it behind the scenes and they want to offer Randall a contract extension. According to Fred Katz, an NBA insider, he reveals that if Randall accepts an extremely low contract extension at this point in time in his career, then the Knicks could be able to utilize that to keep Randall on a very low offer, a low deal, and he can grow with this team and help the Knicks financially with their flexibility moving forward. And that way, you don't waste what Jalen Brunson gave you. And that way, you don't waste what Jalen Brunson gave you, which is that flexibility when he signed for such a low type of contract offer. But let's break down these latest reports from Fred Katz so you can see exactly what he's saying about Randall and why he's claiming he needs to take a lower, lesser contract with the Knicks in order to get that extension this summer. Go to the right slide there. There it goes. So shout out to Hoops Hype as well too. No, excuse me, Hoops Rumor. Shout out to Hoops Rumors for breaking down the Fred Katz article for us here today so we can read it along for you guys. According to Hoops Rumors, they state, and this is coming from Fred Katz, Knicks All-Star forward Julius Randle becomes eligible on Saturday for an extension that could be worth up to $181.5 million over 4 years. That's if he declines his $30.9 million player option for the 2025-2026 season. According to Fred Katz of The Athletic, Randall will likely need to take a discount if he's interested in a long-term contract for security. As Katz details, New York doesn't want to waste the financial flexibility gained by Jalen Brunson's recent extension. That means offering Randall a starting salary of $40.5 million in 2025-2026 on a new extension probably isn't feasible. However, if Randall picks up his 2025-2026 option and then extends that figure off of, extends off of that figure for 2026-2027, the Knicks would be in great shape from a cap perspective going forward. But if he does that, he still would have to accept less by doing so. Would Randall want to accept less? Why would he do that? He already did it for the Knicks. He already accepted less. Would he do it again? Would he want to do it again? Well, Jalen Brunson would have you indicate, at least with his signing, he would probably want to do it again because if Jalen's doing it, if Jalen's mindset is to keep this Knicks team together for as long as possible to increase their odds of winning a championship, then I think Julius Randle is going to follow that exact same pathway, just like Mikal Bridges as well too. But also, Fred Katz revealed there might be another incentive for Randle to do this for this contract extension. According to them, which I mean them, The Athletic, they state Randle could be incentivized to agree to a deal structure. My goodness, this is all messed up there. Let me try that again. Randle could be incentivized to agree to that deal structure because not many teams project to have cap room in 2025 when he could hit free agency. And nearly all of those clubs are rebuilding, making signing a player who would be turning 31 at the time before the 2025-2026 season begins an odd fit. Even if an agreement isn't reached, though, with Randle and he still decides to test free agency, Katz states the Knicks have no interest in trading Randle, especially if it would make them worse, since they're trying to win a championship as soon as possible. Perhaps that mindset could change if Randle becomes unhappy with extension talks. But there's nothing to suggest that that will happen and that the Knicks' value when he comes back to the table will go down at all. So at this point in time, it would seem that the Knicks prefer to keep him above anything else. They're not looking to trade him at all, and the Knicks value what Randle brings to the table. If that's the case, then you already know, guys. Randle's not being traded. He's going to be staying a Knick. He's going to head into this next season as a Knick. And at most, the only time you might see a trade for Randle is at the trade deadline. But I have news for you guys. Randle's not going to be traded then as well, too, because the Knicks, as you just heard, do not want to trade him if it means being worse or getting back a package that doesn't make sense. And if you trade Randle at the trade deadline, even if he's having a monster year, there's always going to be question marks about his health, the injuries, and his playoff performance. So because of that, you don't give him the contract extension now. You wait. He has a monster year. He does everything you want him to do in the regular season and the postseason. And then you guys agree to another deal that's not the full amount of money he can get, a lot less, but still more money that he could get right now. That way, Randle's happy, the Knicks are happy, and they don't have to make a move that they don't really have to make right now. They don't have to give him that contract extension. Randle is not going to walk. He is a Knicks lifer. He's loved by Dolan. He's loved by Rose. He's loved by the entire Knicks front office because of his loyalty, even if he's an unrestricted free agent, because the Knicks do not extend him. It won't matter. He is not going to walk. If anything, if the Knicks would trade him and they were thinking about getting another player, maybe a superstar for him, they would do a sign and trade. And he would be open to doing that because, again, he would be getting that money and this would be communicated to him. Like probably each and every move thus far has been communicated to him. Randall, not on the chopping block, but also not going to get an extension. What does that mean? Monster year for Randall, likely gets an extension from the Knicks or another team come this offseason. And if he is traded, that trade's happening in the offseason, probably via a sign-and trade, if I have to give my opinion on it. But right now, we are smoothly sailing into the offseason with Julius Randle definitely at our power forward position. He's not going to be traded. He's not going anywhere. This is the roster we are going to have moving forward. And that is what it is. You can hate it. You can love it. You can think that Julius Randle will still be traded right now. You can be fair to think that. By all means, believe that. But it's not going to happen. You are not going to see another trade happen for the Knicks until the trade deadline, unless something's catastrophic happens. Somebody becomes available that you never even thought became available out of magic. Then maybe something shifts. But I don't see that happening. Nobody else in the league sees that happening. Trade deadline 2025. That's when the Knicks make their move, gets the backup center, likely Jonas Valanciunas, and they'll do it with their mid-level exception, Precious Achiuwa, and they will not touch this roster. And by doing so, they ensure they keep their core, they get better, and they still compete for a championship moving forward in that season. And if Randall and this team gains a championship, we're not going to talk about, well, he deserves this, he deserves that. We're going to be celebrating. We're going to be hype. We're going to be happy that we broke the drought. We have a championship, and the Knicks signing Randall will be the least of our concerns. And that's what everybody's wondering right now. We're thinking about. But Randall, not going to get the extension, but who cares? He's not thinking about it. The Knicks aren't thinking about it. Really, only all of us are thinking about it. Next season, expect such a great monster year from Julius. I think he's going to be that player we saw in January, but more locked in, more focused, healthy, and trusting the past even more because now he has players on the team, on the roster that he actually can trust to make the shot, make the play, and make sure that assist get credited to him. This team is stacked. Shout out to Fred Katz for breaking down this information for us. I knew the Knicks were not going to give him an extension anyways, but it is good to know if the Knicks were willing to give him an extension, it would likely have to be a very low one because of the fact they need to remain flexible. And I can understand that to some degree. They're still going to remain flexible when they sign him to a contract extension next season. That's why it makes all the sense in the world to not do anything else besides rolling out this roster and seeing what they can do. I can't wait to see what Randall has in store for us. He is going to be a monster, probably working on his three-point shooting right now because that's one of the areas he needs to get better back at it. And if he's able to give us that bubble Randall three-point percentage, gets that percentage up to near 39, 40% in the regular season, this team is going to be so dangerous that blowing out teams by 20 is going to be what other teams hope for. Because if everybody's working on their shot, everybody's working on their threes, and we're looking to be that team to take advantage of everything you give us, contender, championship material. That's what we have. That's what we're made out of. Finally, the Knicks are this close to a title. But what about you guys, man? I want to see what you guys have to say in the chat. You guys are going off. You guys are giving me a lot of love, a lot of comments, and a lot of things going off in the chat here. So I want to make sure I spend, the next 30 or so minutes talking to you guys, going through the chat, going through your comments, and seeing what you guys have to say. What you guys have to say about maybe some questions about the show, some questions about the Knicks, the NBA, some moves the Knicks might make, maybe a report you guys heard. Anything you guys have to say, right now is the time to do it because we are in the live chat portion. I appreciate it. And shout out to everybody in the chat, in the room, following along with me. It is Friday afternoon. You could be on lunch. You could be having a beer with lunch. Maybe you guys are. And if you guys are, cheers to you. But You could be doing so many things, but you're here with me today. I love that from you guys, and I really appreciate that. White Lotus says, play him at the 5. Julius better have new career highs this season. Point 5 says, his 3 will increase, but now it'll be hard to double Julius or Jalen. Point 5 is 100% right. It's going to be very difficult to double team Julius Randle, because if you double team Julius Randle, you're going to have the wings open for you 24/7. No matter what you do, you're going to have the wings open, and then you're going to have the perimeters open. And if Julius Randle drags 2 or 3 defenders, he's such a good and willing passer, he's going to find a Mikal in the corner, an OG in the corner, a Donte in the corner, now a Josh Hart in the corner, a Jalen Brunson. You can't stop what this team is going to be able to do. You can't even double Jalen. You double Jalen when he's in the paint and he penetrates and creates. You have a problem. And because of the way Mikal Bridges can get others involved, he'll pass right back to Jalen and he'll get an open look. Jalen, open look with this much space in the paint, you're not stopping Jalen. You'll be lucky if you stop Julius. The freight train he is running into the paint. It's an and one automatically. And if it's not, it's freight train into the paint, take contact, look for your shot. Oh no, I'm getting doubled or triple teamed. Let me pass it to the corner. Oh, OG, take this. 3, cash. Every time it's cash. Appreciate your comment though, point 5. Thank you so much for it. Ever Marquez says, Knicks are better without Randall. We all have different thoughts on that. I like that though. I like that we have different thoughts. Clearly, I have a different feeling and a different thought on Julius Randle. I do want to say I'm not opposed to trading Randle, but I will say this. Even though I'm not opposed to trading Randle, there's no reason to trade Randle. There's no need to trade Randle. And by the way, what sense would it make to trade Randle when you haven't seen what this Knicks team can do together? We haven't seen one game yet, guys. One game. We haven't seen one game with Julius Randle playing with this entire squad. Why do we have to trade him away? There is nobody available legitimately to replace Julius Randle with. Nobody that you can think of right now that could potentially be available would make sense to trade Randle for. We got a new comment, so let me go to that for the super chat. I'll get back to your comment in a second, definitely, but let me go ahead and get to the super chat really quick. Alex Soto says, that's $5 super chat. I appreciate you, by the way. Thank you for supporting the show and donating to the show. Everybody can do that as well, too, if you want. Just go to the super chat function on the live that you're watching right now. It's a little heart. You just tap on that really quick. Donate as much as you want to the show, and you can get your comment aired on air and read. Alex Soto says, hey, Troy, I smell 60 to 65 wins this season coming. 60 to 65 wins. Give that comment a like. Please blow up that comment. That super chat needs a lot of love. Shout out to you, Alex. I agree with you, actually, Alex. I think that this Knicks team can win 60 games. I said it before. People might think I'm crazy. Why can't we win 60 plus games? Do we not have the roster for it? Are we not a better team? Are we not better than we were last year? More healthy than we were last year? Why couldn't it happen? We won 50 plus with an injured roster. What are we going to win this time? It doesn't make sense. It really, really doesn't. Don't count out the Knicks. We are going to be a powerhouse in the East. Top 3 team in the East. Battling for the number 1 and 2 seed. I'm thinking this Knicks team can creep up to 60 wins. We have the roster to do it. Now I'll hold my reservation to see how things look in training camp and preseason. But as of right now, I feel confident by saying 60 plus because this team feels like a 60 plus team. But going back to the comment we had before the super chat, and shout out to Alex for giving us that super chat though. We were talking about Julius Randle and how some of us don't agree sometimes in terms of his role here. There's nobody to trade Randle for. No one. If you trade Randle for somebody, it has to be somebody that makes us better. Nobody would make us better. Nobody you trade Randle for right now would make us better because that player is not available. Giannis is not available and Joker's not available. And those are the two, oh my goodness, so hype right now. Those are the 2 only players that I would legitimately want to trade Randle for at this point in time because of the value and the impact of Randle, what he does, how he operates, how he helps this Knicks team, how he contributes. Do you understand that talent doesn't mean anything if it doesn't fit, right? If it doesn't fit, then what are we talking about here? Fit means so much. Chemistry means so much. You can't just create chemistry. It just doesn't happen. We may want it to happen, but unless you had some form of chemistry before, you can expect a new player to come here and just have it click. But with Randall, he has time put in with this team. And whether you like it or not, nobody you can replace Randall with right now will understand their role or fit better when they're on this team than Julius. Julius right now, more than anybody else, knows what his role is, what his impact is, and what he needs to do. Last season, he knew. He saw it last season. We all did. His role in January, he didn't have to force anything. I'll relax. I'll be calm. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I don't have to force anything. I'll let the offense come to me. What happened in January? Oh, yeah. Knicks put up some of the best numbers with some of the best players on one of the best Knicks teams that I've seen in a while. It may have not been a lot of games. We were robbed of that. But it was enough to see to get you hype and excited to understand why Knicks management would at least want to see it one time before they made any trades. But I understand some of us do disagree. We don't see the same way. I don't want it to see it the same way. But I just don't understand why people would want to trade Randall at this point. He is playing in a system right now that is perfect for him. Guys, this system for Randall right now is perfect. KGMV, shout out to you for the super chat, bro. I really appreciate that. Let me highlight you real quick on the stream. Excuse me on that. I'm gonna make sure your comment stays there. Let me just read it before it goes away. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Thanks for always keeping us up on things. And that comes from KGMV. So again, he says, thanks for always keeping us up on things. I really appreciate that. That is a crazy super chat. So I really do appreciate that. Let me get out of the super chat though, so everybody can see the chat again. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, going back to it again. Okay. But thank you so much, KG. I really do appreciate that. I appreciate your super chat. $20 is a lot of love. That's showing a lot of support. I really do appreciate that. Every single one of those dollars goes into the creativity, all the tools, all the things that I utilize to keep this show running and going for you guys each and every day. And to hear you guys say that, you know, you appreciate the content, you appreciate the work, and you appreciate me keeping you updated with all the videos, all the live streams and everything, it really does mean a lot. I don't do it just for the praise. I do it because I love the team. But to hear you guys come to the channel, you guys use me for motivation, all of these things as well, it really, truly means a lot. And honestly, guys, I thank you so much for that. I really do thank you so much for that. Give me a second. It seems like I might not be having a good streaming thing here. So I want to see if I can fix something really quick to make sure whatever's going on is fixed here. It looks like the streaming on my end is not going as well as I would want. So what's going on here? Let me see. The comments still going on here? See if I'm still live. I think yeah, okay. The comments still going up. So it must just be YouTube having a little bit of the fritz here. I appreciate everybody showing me love and at least let me know the stream is still going on. Because sometimes you never know with YouTube. It stops sometimes. And I appreciate that. Let's go back to the comments, though. Again, thank you guys for the love and the support. I don't do this for all of the praise. I do it because I love the team, but I love reporting for you guys and the community that we've built. All the comments, whether you love me or you hate me, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for always rocking with the Knicks recap, for supporting, for doing all of these super chats. It really does mean a lot. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And even though YouTube's giving me a little bit of an error on the side here, not showing me my real count in terms of viewers and likes and all that stuff, I still have the chat live, so I'm going to continue talking to you guys. Thank you guys so much. And let me go ahead and go to the chat and see what you guys are saying. So Antonio says, Julius Randle, 22 points, 11 rebounds, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. When is the deadline? If you're talking about if that's coming from Weg right there, N8 Weg. If you're talking about when is the deadline, the trade deadline, that's around February. When the Knicks can trade Precious Achiuwa, that becomes December 15th. So December 15th is the time we're going to have to look at. That's really the realistic time that anybody on the Knicks are really going to be traded. So I would probably think about that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Double A says, salute to all our female diehard fans. Loving your takes and fandom. Salute. Definite salute to all the female fans, all the female supporters of the Knicks recap as well, too. Whether you're on social media, you're on YouTube, no matter where you are. The fact of the matter is you always show love. You always come support the show, and you always ask the right questions. So I really do appreciate that. And hopefully we can have more females in the live streams for Knicks Live, and also just giving your comments. I really would appreciate that. I'm going to try to refresh on my end. So give me a second, guys. I'm going to see if I can go here for a second and refresh, because something's going on with YouTube right now, and I want to make sure I'm giving you guys the best content. You never know what happens with YouTube sometimes. I hate the fact that it always loads so crazy and doesn't do what I need it to do. But hopefully we'll be able to get this done. Are you guys still able to see me on this chat? Are we still good? Can I get some thumbs up? Are we freezing at this time? Because the YouTube side is telling me that that we're not doing too good here. So I want to make sure that I'm doing well. You guys can still hear me and the chat's still going off, because we are at the end of the show. Basically, I'm just doing the live chat with you guys, so we don't have to continue. But I want to make sure you guys are still with me. If you guys can give me some likes, some hearts, let me know in the chat if you guys can still hear me. So that way, because I see the chat still going, so I assume that you guys can still see what I'm doing. But YouTube, for some reason, says it's an error for some reason. That's weird. Okay. Thank you, Darlene. I see the hearts. I really appreciate that. So that's going to mean for me that everything's going well. Everything's going right. And I'm going to keep going till 2 o'clock, because it looks like everything's going good. YouTube, I don't know what's happened with you. Stop messing with my stream. We're in a live chat portion here. The people are talking to me. We're trying to get some Knicks conversation going on here. So please stop messing with my chat. Okay? Let's keep going to the people. Deborah, Darlene, Bodega, Carl, John, Aaron, thank you guys so much. Thank all of you guys. You guys have been rocking with the stream the entire time, looking at the stream. You guys have been showing me love, giving me love. I see all the hearts. I see all the thumbs up. Thank you guys. Without you, I don't have a show. Without my supporters, I don't have a show. To each and every one of you guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for your support. Thank you guys for showing love. Thank you guys for always asking the right questions and, always, coming up with great things to talk about. Because without you guys, without the community, I wouldn't even know what topics to cover. So you guys really help me and motivate me a lot. Thank you. Let's keep going here. I want to go to your comments. I want to go to the chat and see everything you guys are saying real quick. Double A says, Troy, if you can join us on Still Knicks Fan with the host, Ron Hunter. Great dude, great time. I'm on his panel a lot. You would be a great guest. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I was actually recently on a panel for Drunk Sports Talk, and that was a great time as well too. If you Double A, if you know him, if you know Ron, because I've spoken to Ron a few times, but I'm so busy a lot of time doing so much of the work. If you know Ron and you know he's interested, tell Ron to hit me up and we'll work out something. I definitely don't mind connecting with him, having him on the show, and maybe we can do something where I have him as a guest on this show as well too for Knicks Live, like I had with Nickinator. Maybe I can have him in the same way. I think that would be great. I don't mind the collaboration. As you know, I love showing love to everybody in the Knicks community. So definitely, if you can, Double A, set that up. I would really appreciate that and appreciate the love that you're giving me as well too. Let's keep it going here. Susan says, thumbs up. Appreciate you. Still Knicks fan says, yo, what's good? What's good, Knicks family? Salute to the chat. What's up, Troy? Oh, I didn't even see you in here. Salute, Still Knicks fans. Definitely go ahead and tap on their channel and give Still Knicks fans a follow, because they have been doing this for a very long time. They have been having a lot of different special guest interviews as well too. I didn't see them in the chat, but definitely if they're showing love, give them love as well too. Hey, listen guys, if Double A is right and you want to get a show together, let me know. We'll get that business taken care of. I definitely don't mind talking Knicks. You know me. I love it, breathe it, eat it every single day. It's what I do. Carl says, yo, Troy, I don't mind keeping Randall, but I would love for us to get a stretch 5 to space the floor more for Brunson and Randall. I understand the stretch 5 aspect of it, but here's the thing I want you guys to ask yourself. If we get a stretch 5, would we be able to utilize him in a way that Tom Thibodeau would be comfortable with? Because how does Tom Thibodeau utilize his centers right now? He likes to play them inside, grabbing rebounds, put back dunks, blocking shots. If you get a stretch 5, normally when you're playing inside, in order for that lane for Jalen Brunson to be effective, your center's going to have to be where? He's going to have to be at the 3-point line. That means your interior defense is going to struggle. Who are you going to have inside? You might have Randall inside, right? But Randall might be focused on what he's doing inside. And if he doesn't have a rebound that's going to help him if he misses a shot, then the Knicks may lose a chance for a second chance opportunity. Tom Thibodeau also normally does not utilize his bigs that way. He doesn't swing bigs with 3-point shots. I can even remember when he was using some people with size and they could shoot 3. They wouldn't be allowed to, or they wouldn't have the ability to, because they wouldn't be utilized that way. In certain schemes that Tom Thibodeau is going to run, the 5 is never the outlier. And in order for you really to take advantage of being out there and having a lane open for one of your point guards, you should be a trailer. Like, I would love if the Knicks had a big man trailer coming out. He can shoot 3s, and then he's at the top of the key. That means you throw 2-3 defenders to him. Your paint, your wings, that entire side is open for you. And that's what the Knicks would love to have right now. I agree with you. That would be great. But it would not work necessarily with Tom Thibodeau and the way he coaches. So I think we have to take that with a grain of salt. It's nice to think about on paper, and it would work if the team would be utilizing him in that direction. But if it wasn't going to be utilized in that way, then why make the move in the first place, you know? But I appreciate you, and I appreciate your comment. Thank you so much for that. Let's keep it going here. I want to try to jump to different people and jump to different personalities that I haven't spoken to yet. I think Susan sent out a comment. I want to say what she's saying. Susan says, Shaq is just mad that NBC is now carrying the games. TNT is out. Susan also says, shout out to Simone Biles as well. Shout out to her. My goodness. I was watching the Olympics, folks, and I'm not a fan of gymnastics by any means, but I love having the fact of watching the Olympics because I can watch everything. The multi-screen thing, if you have Peacock, the multi-screen thing they do with the Olympics is great. I watch everything. Oh my goodness. How does she's so small. How does she jump so high? How does she flip that many times? I don't know what I'm watching. I can't even, how do you even call that? Like as an announcer, I'm listening to it in my earpiece as I'm doing work. How do you call that as an announcer? Like, she spun 50 times and she landed really well. And my goodness, she's amazing. Shout out to Team USA. Not only the individual players. We can shout out all the individual players, but let's not forget, this is a goal. Team USA is on a mission. We want the gold, but we want all the medals, all the smoke. Team USA is on tomorrow, by the way, for men's basketball at 11:15. I believe they're playing Puerto Rico. That's another game you're going to want to watch. But yes, Susan, I agree with you. What a performance from Simone. What a performance from Team USA. And yeah, Shaq is a hater. I'm guessing you saw the video I dropped last night about Shaq being a hater. And I wasn't going to do it. I really wasn't going to do it. But they keep throwing it out there on social media. They basically renewed it yesterday. And I couldn't let it go anymore. So I just dropped another video about it. But I'm glad you guys appreciated it. And some of you guys found a little bit of humor and maybe a little bit of love with it. Thank you. Let's keep it going here. Aaron says, can you give a percentage of how much a championship roster the Knicks are? You're talking about in terms of how much I feel their roster is ready to compete for a championship. If that is what you're talking about in terms of a percentage, Aaron, I would probably say about 85 to 90. I'm pretty confident. The hesitation has to do with the center position because I didn't know how much I need to take away from it. If Mitchell Robinson was good for 70 plus games, it would be 95%. But because Mitchell Robinson can at any time miss 30 games, miss 15 games, 20 games, and he can do it at stretches of a time, it affects my percentages. But I'm confident by saying 85 because we're one of the best teams in the league. Nobody's going to convince me any otherwise. One of the best teams in the league. And that's what it is with me. Still Nick fan says, that's crazy. I just tuned in. I didn't even know Double A was asking that. That's dope, though. I'm always open to collab. In fact, Troy was on our SKF Weekly in the past with myself and John. I was. That was a great show. I absolutely loved it. Hey, listen, Ron, we can definitely do it again. I actually have to hit you up for Knicks Live. Speaking of, we might do that. I need a guest for this Wednesday. We'll see if you're free. If you are, maybe you do my show this week and we set that up. And if we do, I'm going to give up some shout outs and some credit to Double A on that show. Because if that does happen, it'll be because Double A started it all off. So appreciate Double A for getting us in the room, I guess. Shout out to you. Double A says Susan is great. Susan, great take. You're correct. Double A says Paul Pierce, Shaq, even cast off garbage players take shots. I know who you're talking about with the cast off players. You're talking about Brandon Jennings. And unfortunately for Jennings, he's not happy. He's in retirement age when he shouldn't be retired. He should be happy. He's not happy. If I was Brandon Jennings, I'm retired. I don't have to play basketball. I can talk a lot of crap about all the players I want, and I get paid a large amount of money. Why am I upset? I am happy. I'm trying to get more investments. I'm trying to build out my life more. I'm buying houses. I'm probably doing 1,000 things besides being upset about the Knicks, but I guess to each your own. John says, make it happen, Troy. Double A says, still Knicks fan. Hope you don't mind. And apparently none of them don't mind. And yes, we will make it happen. Trust me, I'm going to get a lot more content creators on Knicks Live. The reason I even started Knicks Live, the reason that show exists in the first place is to highlight my fellow content creators, let you know other people do this, share my platform with them, but also discuss the thing that we love to talk about, the Knicks. So we'll definitely get that done. A couple more comments. We have about 8 minutes. If you guys want to, again, this is the time to ask me about anything. You can ask me about the show. You can ask me about, like Double A was asking, should we do a collab with still Knicks fans? And again, we didn't know that was going to happen during the live. And then we're talking about it. And now literally on live, we are scheduling a show to do with still Knicks fans. So, I mean, listen, anything can happen. That's why I love this portion of the show. But again, ask away, guys. Now is the time to do it. Let's see what you guys have to say. Susan says, every other team in the Eastern Division brought players in order to deal with the healthy Knicks. Not only will we be healthy, but the depth is going to be like Simone Biles' vault, meaning that it's going to be gold medal worthy, finals worthy. Yeah, Susan's cooking right now. Susan might have to win comment of the week right now because she is doing it. Shout out to Susan. I love that. Colby says, what player are you most willing to give up in a trade? Precious Achiuwa, Jericho Sims, and that's it. I know people might have been thinking I would have said Mitchell Robinson or Deuce McBride. I don't want to give up those players. Now, if you're asking me if I can get this player, what players would I feel comfortable in giving up? That's a completely different question. But if you're asking me right now, the players I would be okay with just leaving the team, it would be Precious Achiuwa, Jericho Sims, whoever we get the mid-level exception, those protected picks, and that's it. I'm not comfortable with giving up anything else. There's no reason to. We're a championship contender now. Why overpay for something when we can get it maybe for a steal at the trade deadline? I'm sure that's what the Knicks are thinking. That's what Leon Rose is thinking. That's what the front office is thinking. So I'm sure that's the mindset behind it. Good question. Mary says, Knicks could have 4 all-NBA players. I absolutely agree. They could have 4 all-NBA players, depending on how things shake out. Now, because of politics, I don't think that's going to happen. I would, 2 would probably be the best that they're going to get. And 2 would be history. I don't think they got 2 since, I can't remember the last duo for the Knicks they got 2. It was a long, long time ago. People in the chat fact check me on that. For the last duo for the Knicks that got all NBA. But I think if Jalen and Randall did it, they'd be one of the first duos to ever do it in a while. And I think that's something that's something to praise as well, too. So I think it's something to look at. But shout out to you. I appreciate the comment. And I do agree with you, Mary. If things work out the right way, in perception, the Knicks will have 4 all-NBA players. But I don't know if they're all going to be making the different tiers, just because I don't think the Knicks are going to be seen that way, if I'm being quite honest. And I'm okay with that. As long as the players that need to make it, make it. Jalen and Julius, I would want them there. OG and Mikal to an extent, but not going to be greedy. Let's see. Aces Oreo says, we have too many so-called centers already. Do we? You're talking about right now? I mean, who are they? Jericho, Achiuwa, maybe, and Mitchell Robinson. That's 3. One of the guys doesn't play. One of the guys in Precious Achiuwa isn't really a center. We're forcing him to play out of position. And the other guy gets injured most of his career. That's not a lot of good depth if I'm thinking so. You need one of those players to at least have experience and play a significant amount of time that you can trust. You don't have that yet. And until you do, I'm not going to be confident in the Knicks and what they have. They need to show me more. They need to give me more. And hopefully they will, but we'll see what happens. The Rise says, Susan Chat All-Star. She is. She absolutely is. Shout out to Susan. Chat All-Star. Mary says, okay, at least 4 all-NBA quality players. Yes. Absolutely. That's better for me. They will definitely be quality all-NBA players. I can definitely agree with you there. The unfortunate part is the league never wants to give us the time of day, doesn't want to give us the nod sometimes. It is what it is. We are seen that way at times. That's why if you look at the hate right now in the league, why are the Knicks being hated on right now when we have one of the best rosters ever? You ever think about why? Isn't it because the cool thing that used to be done was hating on the Knicks? And now people don't know what to do. Now they have to hate on how good we are, or hate on the moves that we made, even though they're good moves. They have to make it sound bad. When you're doing that, I mean, aren't you already losing yourself? I don't have to criticize you if you're doing that for yourself. If that's what you have to do, I mean, that's on you. Bodega Wi-Fi says, if recent history reveals anything, it would be that all of the kids will be gone soon. If you're talking about Pacome and Tyler Cole, like, yes, but if history does reveal itself as well, the kids that we got took a couple of years before they left. So if history is going to repeat itself, we're going to have to wait a couple of years before those kids say bye-bye. So I'm okay with that, especially if it nets us a good player. And if those kids turn into a very good player, or one of them turns into a very good NBA player for us, I think the Knicks will count that as a very good signing, a very good draft, and I don't think they'll have any problem with that. But shout out to you. Let's see here. Nick Yak says, Troy will name 3 Mitch injuries in 6 years. I will wait. Nick Yak is not a big fan of mine. I've read some comments of yours. I know we agree on some things and we disagree on some things. I understand that. It's okay. I'm not a hater on Mitch. I just call it like I see it. Is it a fact that for Mitchell Robinson's career, he's more injured than he plays games? Is it a fact? If it's a fact, then there shouldn't really be a problem if I talk about it, right? It is a fact. Let's see here. KGMV says, counting all defense, we could have 4. That's what I was counting. I wasn't talking about all NBA, all of our players. I was thinking about all NBA defense for Mikal and OG, and all NBA for Julius and Jalen. That's what I was thinking in my head. So I hope that's what you meant. I wasn't thinking all 4 of them could be all NBA type of players. In terms of quality, though, they might be able to still be quality all NBA players regardless, because of the players and the skill set that they have. Let's see here. Darlene says jealousy. What do you mean by jealousy, Darlene? Might want to, if it's up there, I might have missed it, so you might want to follow up again. Double A says, what was the Isaiah backup plan, Troy? They went all in on our guards and forwards, but left us in a bad situation if Mitch or when Mitch goes down. Pray for a record games played for Robinson this season. I appreciate you, Double A. That's going to be the last comment I do, because it is 2:00 and I want to make sure I'm not late for anything. So if you didn't catch that, Double A was asking, what was the situation with the Isaiah Hartenstein? What was the situation with Isaiah Hartenstein? What was the plan for backup center for him? In my opinion, and from what I've heard and what I've read and things like that, and shout out to Double A for giving us the final comment today. You contributed so much to today's show, so I really do appreciate it. But the plan was always to get iHeart. It was always to get iHeart. I don't think anybody realized how high OKC would go. They went high. I know people thought that they could go that high, but I don't think anybody realized that would be the offer. Certainly not Hartenstein. And once that happened, and again, they're a contender, he couldn't say no. If the Pistons offered him that money, he would have stayed with the Knicks. And the Knicks wouldn't have any problem right now. And I think they saw a future where he would have stayed. And that's why. The reason they waited so long is because once Hartenstein left, the reason they waited so long to get a free agent center or anything like that is because once Hartenstein left, they knew that Precious Achiuwa was likely always going to be there for him. They had a lot of conversations. They were always in talks with him. So that's why they had him on the wings there. He never signed with any other team, even though many other outlets were reporting he's a free agent. A lot of contenders have interest in him. They're showing interest in him, but he didn't sign. But the Knicks during that time were trying to do what? Make a trade. And that should answer everything for you right there. The Knicks didn't want Achiuwa as the final option. They wanted somebody else as the final option. But they could not get somebody else, not via trade, not for the cost that they wanted. So they settled on getting Precious Achiuwa. But in the process, they made him waive his no-trade clause. So at the trade deadline, they can do what they wanted to do this offseason again. Add a quality backup to the bench in terms of a center. And that player this year is likely going to be Jonas Valanciunas. Now, we can go back and forth on whether that's the best player or not, but that's the guy that you're likely going to get. You don't like to see it. You may not want to see it, but Jonas, this guy right here, pay close attention to him come the trade deadline, especially come December 15th. Because as soon as a trade can happen and it makes sense and it's low cost for Leon, that trade is happening and the Knicks are making that move. But that's what's going to happen right there. I appreciate you, AA, for the comment that you asked regarding the plan for Isaiah. Again, they wanted to trade. They were looking for a trade. They're still going to make a trade because that's the only way at this point in their mind that they can get better at that position, get more depth at that position. They wanted iHeart, struck out. Wanted to trade for a young center, struck out. Had to settle with Achiuwa. Now they're utilizing him for a potential trade at the deadline. Hopefully for Valanciunas, it could be for somebody else, but Valanciunas does look like he's at the top of the list. I hope that helped answer your question. I really do appreciate all the love and all the support everybody on the stream gave today, whether you were part of the chat, you gave some super chats, you gave some comments, you were part of social media, sharing and liking everything. No matter which way you supported, I really do appreciate it. I'm not here without you guys. The show doesn't exist without you guys. The videos, the clips, all the content that's soon to come doesn't exist without you guys. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Please, if you haven't done it already, smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. If you're not a member, please go ahead and hit that join button and you can become a member as well too. Get exclusive content on this show, especially when we go live with certain guests. It will only be for members only. So if you want to get your comments in on those, make sure you're a member as well. And thank you guys again for all of the things that you do for me and this show on a day-to-day basis. But that's going to do it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace. I got to go sign some permission slips for some trades that probably my son doesn't want to go on. But other than that, I'm going to try to enjoy my weekend. Please, guys, you do the same. This is it for this show. I'll see you again next week with another live show on Friday and potentially maybe another live show for Wednesday. Stay tuned. Peace out, guys.